Arkadaşlar başlıyoruz. We are starting. Everybody in. Everybody. 2 more minutes. Welcome. Welcome to Istanbul. Welcome to 9th Istanbul Banker Conference. We are a little bit late, sorry, because of traffic, because of rain. Turkish Banker Association was established in 1st June 2001. We are older than all the ladies in the room. We would like to show you a short video about bunkering in Turkey and about our association. Would you please patient 3 minutes for our video?
Turkey's journey in the bunker services industry started in 1980s. Before then, only a government-affiliated company provided limited fuel services to state-owned and Turkish-flagged vessels. However, as global maritime trade surged, so did the bunker fuel demand. In response to the rising demand, industry leaders formed the Turkish Bunker Association, or TBA, on June 1st, 2001. Its mission is to promote Turkey's bunker services in the global maritime industry and improve operational standards. Since then, TBA has expanded, welcoming industry players like barge operators, lube oil suppliers, and bunker traders. Today, it has grown to 75 members, making Turkey a key player in global bunker services. Every year, around 40,000 vessels pass through the Turkish Straits, driving significant growth of this sector. Due to its strategic location, Turkey's bunker market reached a remarkable 3 million tons in sales, supplying over 20,000 ships in total, including 12,000 in transit per year. TBA is working to strengthen Turkey's position as a most reliable bunkering hub. Currently, 6 physical suppliers and 65 bunker barges are operating in Istanbul, İzmit Bay, Ali Ağa, İskenderun, and Mersin. Truck deliveries of gas oil are also carried out at 186 ports across Turkey, supporting the availability of Mediterranean ECA-compliant fuels and ensuring a sufficient supply for vessels. TBA members provide fuel ports all over Turkey, from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean, with the Mediterranean becoming a sulfur emission control area in 2025. TBA has been proactive by upgrading facilities and bunker barges to meet the new environmental standards while ensuring high-quality service. Beyond compliance, TBA is preparing for the future by expanding its services to include new eco-friendly fuels like biofuels. The Istanbul Bunker Conference has been organized by TBA since 2002 to gather industry leaders and experts to address emerging challenges, drive innovation, and shape the future of marine fuels. With a strong commitment to sustainability, efficiency, and innovation, The Turkish Bunker Association is not just fueling ships, it's fueling the future of maritime trade.
We've got 32 sponsors and nine supporters. So I would like to thank them all. First of all, our strategic partner, EBA. First, the EBA. Thank you. And diamond sponsors, PETROL, OFİSİ, and SOCAR. You did 32 times, be careful. And platinum sponsors, ALKAGESTA, yesterday. And Asmira. Tomorrow, boat trip. Don't miss. Gold sponsors, Alkim, they say Nitron, the new brand. Aquas is also our room sponsors. Istanbul Marine is sponsoring all the coffees you drink. KPI giving to today's lunch. At Petroleum, the bags. Sorry, today's lunch by team. By team. KPI is tomorrow. Team is, yes, today's lunch. West Bunker, your badges. And the bronze sponsors are many. Agatas, Albert, Aurora, and Peninsula, somebody from Peninsula here? Yes, okay. And now Ibrahim is here. He's happy of Galatasaray, but you know today is a little bit sad. Fenerbahçe won Final Four, so our biggest sponsor is Fenerbahçe. Rhine project, they are doing kind of carbon capture. You can talk to them. They have a stand just seaside. Tamar is here. And the how. Lucas, Blue Boy Suppliers. And the only lover fish. I hope he's here. Be careful. And finally, Diaz. Now, Chairman. Sorry, the very late joining one, Valmare. Thank you very much. And our sponsors. Maritime Faculty graduate, Ship Engineers Associations, and Turkish Owners Associations, and Turkish Lloyd. Turkish Ship Owners Association established in 1939, and Turkish PNI is the new star doing all our PNIs. Our media sponsor mainly 7 Seas and Ship and Bunker. Sorry, Tech TV doing all these photos and videos. And right. Thank you for all our sponsors. Without them, we couldn't do this event. Now I would like to invite IBA Chairman, Mr. Konstantinos Kapatanakis, for his keynote and opening speech.
That was quite a video, I have to say. I really liked it because I knew a bit about the story of the Turkish Banker Association, but not so much which you managed to encapsulate in just 3 minutes. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I sincerely thank for the invitation, the Turkish Banker Association, its board members, especially its chairman, my good friend Mustafa Muhtaroglu, a long-standing EBA supporter and board member, and of course the conference committee, which consists, among others, of 3 exceptional ladies which made this beautiful event a reality. Thank you all. We're not thanking the rain, obviously, but this will pass like everything. We at TBA are very proud to be strategic partners of the 9th Banker Conference in Istanbul, demonstrating our strong ties with the Turkish Banker Association, one of the oldest, as we just seen, hosting already its 9th Banker Conference, together with 2 successful events with IBA the past few years, one of which being IBA's annual convention in 2019, right here in Istanbul. It was during this convention, in the same beautiful venue, that I fully realized the impact and dynamic of IBA, myself, and decided to run for the general elections of this year. My company, Star Bulk Carriers, the biggest actually dry bulk operator globally, publicly listed, was already an IBA member. So we wanted to actively participate in the marine energy dialogue from within. And IBA is the ideal association for this. So I was elected, and up until today it has been quite a journey, as this is an industry, the bunker industry, which never ceases to impress me. And I'm equally impressed today. I was going earlier through the conference's program, and I already met most of you. It is clear that there is huge variety of expertise and experience. And this is what I have been saying since I was first elected EBA chair, that we are relevant to all aspects of the shipping and bunker industry, all elements of the marine energy, everywhere, cooperating with associations which share our vision and principles. And talking about our principles, EBA supports full transparency, a level playing field, and best practices, having adopted a fair code of conduct for all our members and board members, as this is vital for the bunkering sector, so to minimize, if possible to extinct, bunker disputes. And this is something which the bunker industry here in Turkey has accomplished and serves as an example to other ports, so I congratulate you for that. EBA is a global advocate of the marine energy industry, as you all know. Hopefully, we have more than 530 members from more than 70 countries, encompassing all links of the maritime chain. Ship owners, charterers, fuel producers, energy majors, bunker suppliers and traders, obviously, classification societies, experts, surveyors, lawyers like myself. We have a consultative status at the IMO for more than 20 years, where monumental policies and measures have recently been decided, and where our meaningful interventions, either on our own or together with other delegations, contribute to the shaping of regulations and strategy on the green transition process. So engaging with us means, I'm certain, having an influential voice in the main decision-making fora, creating a vast network and acquiring thorough knowledge on energy-related developments at the IMO, the EU, and through our partnerships with eminent associations such as BIMCO, the Singapore Maritime Port Authority, the Global Center for Maritime Decarbonization, to name just a few. And this is why EBA structure is international through our diversified global board, our regional boards in Asia, Africa, the Middle East, the Americas, and Europe, and through our members-driven working groups, our Future Fuels Working Group, which I also chair, digitalization, MFMs and bunker licenses, technical fuel standards and quality. Moreover, we focus on training, as you all know, through recognized courses, as for example in Singapore or the ARA region, and we support university students through our scholarships. Finally, our very well-known events, our famous annual dinner in London and Singapore and elsewhere, our online members' meetings, our conferences, and our annual convention, which I'm happy to say next November will be held in Hong Kong. So, we often hear that we live in interesting times. Allow me to say that it now becomes clear that in reality, these are extraordinary, not simply interesting. Fundamentals sometimes tend to play a secondary role, with geopolitical developments regularly taking center stage, moving with great speed, and frequently in an unpredicted manner. So marine energy, our industry, is right in the middle of this very, very complex puzzle. These 2 days, today and tomorrow, we will discuss crucial issues which affect us all. Naturally, EBIA has focused on the progress noted in the IMO, pursuant to the recent MEPC 83. We welcomed from the first moment the measures for a global GHG fuel intensity standard, including a pricing mechanism. We should know that significant work remains outstanding. So we look forward to further discussions, and we support all realistic attempts to reach the widest possible consensus by October, the next MEPC. We were among the first associations to organize a members-wide open discussion on these developments through a dedicated members meeting where we analyzed and evaluated MEPC's outcome. And we are arranging more meetings, such as one on SOxECA, which, as we all know and just heard on how prepared the Turkish bunker industry is, has been effective as of 1st May, and requires all vessels operating in the Med to use marine fuels with a maximum sulfur content of 0.1%, unless they use approved alternative compliance methods, such as scrubbers. Now, the new regulations should reduce, hopefully, levels of air pollution in the Med Sea and its coastal states, Turkey and Greece among others. Of course, it will cause a significant increase in demand for 0.1 bunkers, MGO or ULSFO, we shall see. And the substantial cross-Med trade will need to comply with this limit, something which will signify a drop in VLSFO demand. Conversely, it should logically create a rise in HSFO demand, in my opinion, assuming that scrubber-fitted owners are able to reposition their vessels, and I believe they will. So whilst we might see an initial rise in costs, inevitably, and there is some concern for good and timely availability, I believe that the Med bunker market is prepared to meet demand. These new measures, the specific new measure, details of which we will hear later today through a dedicated panel, I think, is affecting not only our Mediterranean neighborhood, but also ship operators' general strategy, possibly translating into higher freight rates for vessels trading here and adjusted rates for tankers in the future. We should keep that in mind. It is therefore, because of its importance, that EBIA shall host a new dedicated online members meeting on the 9th of June, which I will have the honor to moderate myself, so to share perspectives on operational and financial implications and discuss the role of the bunker industry for a smooth transition. Now, apart from SOxECA, I wish that was the only thing, the European Union has added shipping in its emission trading scheme, as we all know, ETS, and together with the Fuel EU, as of January, these measures have created obligations to reduce GHG emissions through the use of lower carbon intensity fuels, whose adequate availability and cost remain a huge question. This measure creates enormous financial, commercial, and technical complications for owners, operators, bunker suppliers alike. We need and support compliance, and the ways to accomplish it are clear and hopefully feasible. Moreover, we hear that national regulations might come into play, complicating compliance even further. In EBA, we are firm believers of a unified set of regulations, of clarity, practical implementation, and enforcement. And this is why we trust in the IMO for setting the tone, so that regional regulations are gradually replaced by global ones. The measures which I mentioned dictate the necessity for alternative fuels supplies to develop, something which we look forward seeing how, where, when, and at what volumes. In EBA's Future Fuels Working Group, we are now completing frequently asked question lists for all major new fuels. These are available to all EBA members. And bearing in mind the need for preparation and compliance once the IMO measures are hopefully ratified, these snapshots will be helpful to us all. Being fuel agnostic, this is EBA's position, and well informed is imperative, and our aim is to present a comprehensive picture of all fuel options. And these are many, as we all know. But although decarbonization remains a clear goal, I had a very interesting discussion about that last night, the obstacles, both existing and well known, but also new ones, are plenty and affect decarbonization space. I'm not only referring to the trillions of dollars required annually for this to take place by or around 2050, as the IMO specifically stated concerning shipping. I'm talking about many more. Commercial certainty is yet absent. Technological advancement is ongoing, but not yet fully developed. New fuels, massive quantities needed, are not being sufficiently produced, and those which are already in circulation are prohibitively expensive and projected to remain so for the next decade at least. Enforceability of regulations is untested. Regulations themselves have not been finalized. The majority of ports infrastructure is not at a satisfactory level, and bunker stakeholders' adoption is inevitably still ongoing. It's not completed. Moreover, the energy transition is different from earlier ones, being an environmental and social imperative, emphasized by geopolitical volatilities, and I'm being very polite here, which serve as a critical reminder of how essential energy sources are to the global economy. So if these constraints are not resolved, offtake agreements, we hear this phrase very often, or investments will be limited. And key players want to ensure that the vessel's maritime adventure will be and can be safely performed. Additionally, the bunker industry, and I have to stress that very much, needs to be consulted and needs to be incentivized by various motives if satisfactory levels of infrastructure readiness are to be reached, and adequate and especially appropriate bunker vessels, barges, are to exist. Some of the first questions a ship owner asks me when new fuels are being discussed are, I assure you, where will my vessel bunker this new fuel? Is it reliable? How much will it cost compared to today? If these questions are not answered satisfactorily, the discussion changes topic, as simple as that. It is therefore an understatement that the shipping and marine energy industry are faced with exceptional challenges. So it is essential to appreciate our key role, the role of the bunker industry. Adaptability, readiness, awareness, ambition of maintaining quality services are the best guarantee for the future of this business. Nothing else. And apart from the new fuels, and this is something which is often underplayed, we should focus on the ways through which we can make the existing global fleet more energy efficient. The fleet will not disappear. We have more than 100,000 vessels. No one can deny that there is lack of worldwide availability of these new fuels, even of the popular biofuels. Apart from their high costs, we should also keep in mind the competition from other industries, aviation, road transportation. I'm talking about biofuels now. Something which makes undeniably stakeholders skeptical. Accordingly, these so-called first movers are few, and most companies are biding their time for the full picture to be completed, presented to all, and implemented before they actually move. So, this is not news to you, I hope. Fossil fuels are not leaving, okay? They're here to stay. And we all acknowledge, or should, that there is a long way to go until a fleet-wide fuel transition is achieved. It is therefore evident that shipping companies and bunker players alike should develop their business strategies, as they cannot afford to make wrong decisions. You cannot afford to make wrong decisions. Yes, they are considering the design and construction of new ships or retrofitting existing ones. But as regulation, production, technology, and a satisfactory supply chain are yet to mature, the development of alternative technologies, for example, solar, wind, fuel cells, or energy-saving devices which improve ships' energy and operational efficiency, or onboard carbon capture, which we heard earlier, and storage, will all have a role to play, as will, of course, digitalization, another area where we seriously focus in Libya, and for which we see great leaps of development targeted towards optimization and reduction of carbon emissions. These are all Herculean tasks. The shipping and bunker industry explore options, participate in R&D projects, optimize current fleet performance, focus on crew training for these new fuels, consult with regulators, ports, classification societies, engine makers, fuel producers. Will this be enough to achieve the set milestones? It can still be done. In theory, yes, provided all essential hurdles are fully overcome without further delay or hesitation by regulators or governments, and always with consideration and respect to the social, environmental, and geographical concerns. The puzzle is highly complex, but the stakes have never been higher. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to stress one last point. Shipping may be a highly competitive business, but there is neither time nor room for isolation. Our industry must leave behind outdated practices. We need collaboration, synergies, sharing of knowledge, awareness of what it means not to conform. No one ever considered that this transition would be anything less than one of the biggest challenges of our civilization. Still, we need to use all means to make it happen. From our part, EBA is present and active, and you may count on our commitment. We work very hard to fulfill our mission, not in abstract, but with concrete objectives in mind for the benefit of our industry. When I was elected EBA chair, I made one promise, that we will grow both in numbers and in substance, a promise which is kept by all of us in EBA. Our membership has grown by more than 10% and by a greater representation of ship-owning, bunker supplying, fuel-producing, and expert companies. Even though, in my opinion, being on the selling or buying or service side makes no real difference. What does is respect for one another, transparency, integrity, the passion for energy, for a sustainable way forward. We should not lose sight of this. That's my goal, and this is our shared vision. So, here we are to discuss these issues and concerns, to listen and feel the energy of belonging in this wonderful community. From my side, I can assure you that we shall always represent the best interests of the marine energy industry and shall continue to expand, so to become even more impactful, and that's another promise to keep. Thank you all very much for your attention.
Thank you, Chairman. By the way, Turkish bunker suppliers are licensed since 2005. Even the barges and the trucks, they are all are licensed since 2005. Oil law, special oil law, come to power. We are 285 delegates in total from 146 different companies. Some of them couldn't reach due to the traffic, but anyway. Now we are going to, we are starting our sessions. Our first session is, supplier's view on Mediterranean ECA. Our moderator is Jonathan Mcilroy. He is from currently Peninsula Executive Management Group. He worked for Ocean Intelligence first and in industry for over 20 years and doing PhD on Unity for Progress. Yes. Our first panelist speaker from CEPSA, I still say CEPSA, Francisco, sorry. MOEVE, okay, but you are CEPSA for a while. Francisco Diaz working for CEPSA for over 30 years. He is from Canary Island, sorry about rain, and studied in USA. He is now responsible for money sales for CEPSA. Please, Francisco. Zeki Tarakçı was this morning's star. He recommended to get some percentage out of every sales for the association. So he is the next chairman in my mind, collecting more money. He is a marine engineer from Istanbul Technical University Maritime Faculty. You will hear this university quite much. Most of the people in shipping and bunkering, they are graduated from this special school. And my lovely wife is doing PhD, master degree. We will speak about it later. At this same university. He is in bunker market for more than 30 years and currently sales director for SOCAR Marine, right? Okay, yes. And next is Mr. Kemal Taylan from PETROL OFİSİ. He is transit sales manager. Yes, Kemal. Can, every.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. It is such an honor and pleasure to be here and amongst all of you. And thank you very much, Mr. Konstantinos, the EBA. And also as a Turkey, that we have 2 EBA board members now. And it's a road that was opened by Mustafa years ago as a first Turkish board member ever in the world. And now we are proudly represented by 2 people, Mr. Ufuk Erinç and Mr. Mustafa Aslan, who are also present in here. So there was a map, but so the significance of our panel here is actually like, I would like to start with the Paco, we call in Spanish. Bienvenido a Istanbul. Istanbul'a hoş geldin. And then with the Zeki, and he's part of the SOCAR group with the state oil company of Azerbaijan Republic, with the largest investor in Turkey, with petrochemicals and refinery. And also the CEPSA MOEVE has the refinery and the terminals in Spain. And actually from my house in Gibraltar, like when I go to the terrace, I have the wonderful view of the whole CEPSA refinery. So, I'm just having my tea, Turkish tea, in Gibraltar with the CEPSA refinery view. And then the PETROL OFİSİ, the Kemal Taylan, then who is sitting on the prize seat of the transit sales of PETROL OFİSİ, because that was formerly the Zeki's seat. So this is like, now that it's occupied proudly by Kemal. And so the PETROL OFİSİ, as you know, probably, like is a wholly owned subsidiary of Vitol. And therefore, for the purpose of today that we are going to think Petrol OFİSİ as part of the wider Vitol Group, which is one of the largest commodity traders in the world and also is very strong in the refining and cargo and terminal and all of this. And all of these suppliers here, they have a refinery in the Mediterranean because the CEPSA has the MOEVE refinery and also the ALKAGESTA refinery in the Mediterranean. And the SOCAR has the Star refinery, which they named after Zeki because the Zeki is the star of bunkers here. Yes, so this is like, and then the Petrol OFİSİ, the Vitol Group, and recently acquired the Saras refinery in Italy. And they are also now physical supplier in Malta on the back of that, as well as Istanbul, obviously. And as for myself, like the Peninsula is now one of the largest marine, if not the largest marine supplier in the world, privately owned. And this year that we are aiming about 20 million tons. And we have worldwide operations, but in the Mediterranean, we are in the Gibraltar Strait, in Barcelona, in Tarragona, in Malta, and Suez. And so between us here, so all exits of entry and exit points of Mediterranean are covered. So there's no entry or exit
Exactly.
without our blessing from the panel. So I would like to start from Mr. Diaz. And on the back of a little comment that was raised by the Mr. Kapetanakis, and which is like now, like each of these companies here, and because if you board a flight in Malaga airport, come in here, that you will see the CEPSA Air, it says on the side of it. And when you land to Istanbul, that you will see the PO Air and the SOCAR aviation fuels. And to drive here, like from Spain, that I actually buy my petrol from CEPSA. And so it's like, from the taxi that you were driven here, probably has some fuel from the Petrol OFİSİ stations. And also the SOCAR has a very wide retail network in Istanbul, in all of the Turkey. And also they are active in the truck supplies because the CEPSA is the largest truck supplier in the Iberian Peninsula. And SOCAR and Petrol OFİSİ respectively have the largest trust network in Istanbul too, in Turkey, sorry, in all of Turkey. And there's more to Istanbul, more to Turkey than Istanbul, I can assure you that. So like the first question is like, I would like to raise, is like so far, for the last 50 years, the maritime industry was dominated by the residual fuel. And in Turkey that we call it atık, waste fuel. And so now, there is still the ULSFO a little bit, which I will ask, like, is it little bit, or do you see great potential for this? But now the maritime industry is moving away from this residual into the more refined products and other product sources. And in such, that now that, because the largest consumer of the fuel oil was the maritime industry in the world, aside from some little industrial use. But now, all of a sudden, that we are now moving into a different zone, that for the biofuels, especially, and for the gas oil, now we see the increased competition from the aviation sector, and also from the land use, and from the all of other energy users. So how do you see this, like, because you both each have, companies with wide exposure to this, how do you see this internal competition, and from a refiner's view and from a marketing view? Mr. Diaz, por favor.
First of all, thank you to the Banker Association, to Mustafa, and it's always a pleasure to come to Istanbul and to meet some friends. So indeed, Konstantinos was also mentioning, it's a competition for the bio components, for the road industry and for aviation. The road industry, it's true that it's a competition short and medium term because the EU is promoting the electric vehicle, so long term should be less competition there. In the aviation, they don't have many options. They have SAF, SAF, and they have green hydrogen derivatives later on. And they pay 3 times more than we do, so they will take the bio components, okay? Maybe the picture looks bad, but it's not that bad because I have to tell you that new biocomponents are in the market. We have energy crops from oil seeds that do not compete with the food industry. Also from the waste solid waters are new biocomponents coming, and there is one that is very abundant in Europe, that is the forest and agricultural residues. The problem with this one so far is that UCOMI has been amply available and is cheaper. And the technology of these residues is a little bit immature, but step by step is coming. Another important point is customers. Before was UCOMI, and UCOMI. Now they are opening their minds to POMIMI, CNSL, pyrolysis oil, other biocomponents. So competition is there. Still, I'm confident that the outlook is positive, and what I recommend, and we are doing that, is to push customers to lock as much as possible long-term contracts to secure those biocomponents.
Thank you very much. Gracias. Mr. Zeki.
Thank you again, Can and Mustafa Bey, for the nice presentations. Since 2020, the changes and the complexity are the never-ending story in our market, in our industry. In 2019, we were sitting here talking about the VLSFO and the problems about the stabilities, compatibilities, CAT fines, viscosities, etc. When we come today, after 6 years, now we are talking about the 10 different topics, maybe more. So I would like to talk about the changes and the opportunities, what we are doing in Turkey by means of the supplier. So we are putting 3 main products in the center. The one is the gas oil, because we have 0.1 MEDECA limitation, and then the price of ULSFO and DMA is very close to each other. Therefore, why you are using ULSFO? Because there is a product with higher energy, which is gas oil. So this is in the center of the product for the, let's say, for the 5 years, 10 years maybe. So it will be in our life. And the second is bioproducts, because of fuel use, because of IMO, CIA indexes, the targets, the vessels, because has to reach the level of C, at least in the middle. If it is E, then they cannot work. We don't know what will happen to that vessels, but it will be the more demanded product. Especially some 2 months ago, IMO MEPC meeting 83 has announced that a new regulation is coming to stage, starting with 2028, and they are monitoring with CII. IMO was monitoring the tank-to-wake emissions. Now they are focusing on well-to-wake emissions, and so it's a bit the combination of fuel UU and EU ETS. So we have, and it is heavier than European regulations, because it's covering all waters, not Europe. Therefore, we will see more bio demands in the future. So this is also giving an opportunity to Turkey. So increasing gas oil demand, increasing biofuel demand, those are good opportunity for us, and I will talk about them. The third one is LNG. Because when we look at to the new vessels, the existing now working vessels and the vessels on the shipyard, there are some 1,700 alternative fueled vessels. Now, the 60% of these vessels are driven by the LNG. So LNG is, from my point, the LNG is the third point that we have to focus on. And also Turkey is having an opportunity because of LNG. This is the first that I would like to express, but you want me to talk about why it's giving an opportunity to continue?
Well, let's move on to Mr. Taylan, if you don't mind, because we will come to the regulatory opportunities in the next question, I hope, if we get there. Okay. So, Mr. Taylan?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to welcome you all. It's both a great pleasure and honor for me to be here with you at this important organization. So, in my speech, I would like to emphasize about...
I think the microphone needs to be a little bit closer.
Is it okay now?
Yes, I can hear.
So, we all aware the new regulation, MEDECA, is effective since beginning of the May, and this has too many effects on suppliers for us, for our customers, ship owners, time charterers, bunker traders. simply I can say all the industry. So at 2020, the bunker V transformation from 3.5 to 0.5, and at that time I was working at PETROL as a marine operations manager, and we gained invaluable experience from that transition. And now the difference between 2020 and now, 2020 was for globally applied, and this is for limited with Mediterranean. As Turkey is between Black Sea and Mediterranean Sea, so suppliers in Turkey affected from this too much. Especially the demand has changed dramatically. VLSFO demand almost zero right now, dropped dramatically, and shifting towards to ULSFO and marine gas oil. I can say marine gas oil demand in Istanbul, in Turkey market, almost doubled, and ULSFO demand is increasing, and I'm sure it will increase also in the future. So we should keep investing on ULSFO. As suppliers, we anticipated this earlier, and we organized our tank capacities in terminal, also barge configurations at the same time. And I'm proud to say that we were able to meet the new demand in Turkey. And we should keep investing on ULSFO. And while we are talking about all marine products, we should also say high sulfur. The scrubbered vessels also can burn high sulfur with lowest cost. After this new regulation, these vessels became more and more advantageous. Therefore, I am sure the demand for high sulfur 3.5 also will continue in the future. While we are talking about this demand change, technical things we did, we also should mention about the financial side. So as we all know, ULSFO and marine gas oil are more expensive products than VLSFO. So we will face some financial burdens as suppliers, as owners also. Also, we can have some problems, some matters with our customers with their credit issues.
Thank you very much. And in the speech that Zeki touched upon the regulations, and you all did, and from this respect that I would like to say, like, because the IMO, the United Nations, and the European Union, and also because here that we are very looking from our geography, like we are now that, where the Istanbul is the beautiful and magnificent city that connects in the Asia and Europe, and we, the sort of Westerners, that we have a very Western look, but there's also the Asia, and all of these countries have their own regulations and rules also. But when we look at the holistically for our market, that for the IMO and the European Union, and also the local governments, so sometimes that we feel, at least, that there's a bit decoupling in between, because like the IMO and the higher echelons say one thing, but when you try to do something in the local, so it has its challenges. I can give example from Spain, for example. Like when, as Peninsula, we started our LNG operations, because now we had a 12,500 cube LNG bunkered vessel in the Strait of Gibraltar. It was a really big challenge to get the approval from the local authorities. In the same way that, for example, like which we can bring it to Turkey, which for one of our valued customers that we wanted to do an LNG operation in Istanbul with a local partner. We find out that we couldn't because the local legislation and the port authority wasn't ready for this. And also the same goes for the biofuels. For example, like correct me if wrong, Mr. Taylan and Zeki, like in Turkey, like you can only do certain grades, and so you cannot really do intermediate grades above B30. Like so is the local authorities, in your view, is ready for the change? And how do you see that, if this presents an opportunity or a challenge? Because even like we just touched upon the truck supplies, like in Turkey, that in order to do a truck supply, like you need to open different custom declarations for each truck. While as like in Spain, it is a complete different world, because in Strait of Gibraltar, we load the barge, or you can just do as many, and at the end that you reconcile with the port authorities, which is totally different practices across whole of the region. So what opportunities and challenges this brings to you? So you wanted to tie the subject to LNG also, so this time that we start from Zeki, if you don't mind.
Thank you. First of all, the opportunities for gasoil, bio, and LNG, I think quite strong for us, because we have two amazing refineries in Marmara, in Aliağa, and it's a Star refinery, Tüpraş refinery, and they are producing around 18 million tons of diesel oil. And normally, in transit fuels, our import rate is almost 90%. Now we have the opportunity, and that place are very close to the bunkering points. So it means we are sure that we will have a higher market share from the world bunker market. This is for gasoil. For biofuels, we are ongoing bioproducers for the years, maybe 10 years. We are producing it for domestic usages. The capacity of Turkey is around 150,000 tons, and that 50,000 tons is UCOMA based. 100,000 tons is in FED. And now they are investing because they see the potentials coming from aviation sector, coming from the marine sector, and now they are extending their infrastructures. And also the majors in Turkey, like SOCAR, doing some R&D projects. And also one is already submitted to the European Union to take some subventions, some support. It's the carbon CO2 capture with membrane technology to methanol, CO2 capture to SAF and bio, and the one is which I like too much is from algae to SAF and bio. So we are trying to build up these technologies. Now it's very, very, very expensive for sure, but it's like the electrical cars. And before some 10 years ago, the main components of electric cars is the batteries, and the batteries cost before 10 years ago was $1,000 per kilowatt. Now it's $100 per kilowatt. So the sector, we and the ship owners or all stakeholders has to pay for that to build it up. So for LNG, so bio we have. So for LNG, we have two amazing LNG terminals. One in Marmara. Marmara is the market of our 90% of our market. And that LNG terminal is located at the west side of the Marmara, Botaş LNG terminal. And the other one is the Egegas in Aliağa. So it's an also important place for us. And also we have 3 FSRUs, big FSRUs that serving for the land usages. So they are very close to the locations, and we have the market. Market is developing and increasing, and we will see more demand for the future. For this year, we are not seeing too much bio demand, but we are sure that the next year, because of this IMO and CIA indexes, because the vessel CEPSA indexes are decreasing 2% every year, and after 2026, it's more than 2%. So we will see more bio demand. We will see more LNG demands, and LNG vessels are coming to the market. And we have already discussed with you for Gibraltar to make some contract for some clients. So that's the key things that we have to do. So, but we are having around 1% market share. I would like to speak simple to make it simple. Our aviation sector having some 2% from the world aviation market. Our ship owners are having 2% from the shipping sector. But our Turkish bunker market having only 1%, maybe lower than 1%, 0.9, something like that. So our first aim, first target, Mustafa Bey is here, so is to reach 2% at least, because our Turkish ship owners are our aviation guys, aviation jet fuel guys are performing better than us. So this is, as an industry, as all players, our first target is to reach the 2%. So it's the journey starting from 2.5 million tons to 5 million tons in a very short period. And these all changes are giving an opportunity anymore, because we have our own infrastructure anymore. And we have the support from the import sources, of course, but the domestic usages, domestic sources is always very valuable. That's all I can say.
But from the regulatory authority, that the LNG is still not classed as a marine bunker fuel, right? In Turkey?
No, you can sell it as a bunker fuel. We made it before some 5 years ago. We already made one LNG bunker supply, not one. We made some 20 LNG supply by truck in shipyards, but we didn't ask any permission to anyone because the shipyard was there. The vessel is being built by the shipyard's owner, so we didn't ask anyone. We just load the barges, trucks, and go and supply it there. And then we have applied to EMRA, Energy Marketing Regulatory Authority, to write some rules for that because it can't be like that, right? So, but now it's okay. It's ready by means of legislation. It's also ready for biofuels. It's just 2 months ago, EMRA has already announced the rules. They put some limit, yes, with 30%, so we can sell B30 and B100. But we cannot sell today, we cannot sell B35, let's say, or B40 or B60. They didn't allow this, but for today, it's okay, B30 for the initial stage, to start, to have some market, it's fine. But they are they're helping us. The Commerce of Ministry, all the customs guys, all transportation, the Ministry of Transportation, they understand the reality. And also they are planning to put Turkish ETS system, Turkish S system, let's say, Turkish carbon emission system. So they are also planning to have some part from that.
And how is your experience in Spain and España? So for the relationship with the local authorities, like, do you think that they are ready to embrace the new future?
It's a challenge, Jan, and you express it very well. I think it's a lot of work to do to easy the procedures and for the approvals, to speed up the approvals. Regulation is going fast and is the real challenge. You were talking about the IMO in the last Congress, many doubts about it, still have to be ratified in October. On the life cycle analysis, the rewards, how it's going to link to the EU directives. So many challenges involved. And this at the end comes to the customers and the suppliers. We have to adjust our supply means, our products, our terminals, and for all of that you need the procedures and the processes to be active and agile. And this today is something, as I said, to be worked on.
Thank you very much. And for the next question, do you have anything to add to the local authorities, Mr. Taylan?
Actually, I totally agree with Mr. Zeki. Unfortunately, the local legislation cannot meet with the global needs because global needs is changing, the global regulations is changing very quickly. I can say like this.
Thank you. And the next question is directly coming to you because you come from Mr. Taylan.
Yeah.
And because you come from an operations background,
Yeah.
and my feeling is that the operations in the bunkering companies is, often overlooked because they are the core, they are the full feeling. But it's like when we talk in the events or even internally in the companies that it is very sales focused and very customer focused. But however, the real machine inside is the operations, and you both also know this very well, like from your backgrounds with decades of experience. But, operationally, do you think, like, as the barge capacity, for example, like for the for the biofuels, that, there's a requirement for the IMO 2 tankers. And also in Spain that we found, like in some of the ports that you need, like, twin propellers are required, that even if you have the IMO 2 class chemical product tanker, that's not even enough. So, looking over to the barge capacity and also, for that matter, the truck capacity. So do you think the world is now ready to physically supply operationally these new fuels?
Yes, we should work hard. What can I say about this? First of all, operation side is the very tough than sales side. I can honestly say this. Especially in Turkey, we have very tough regulation rules. This makes it more harder to meet with the demand. And as Petrol OFİSİ, now we are operating 19 barges, and 2 of these barges has SIRE approval. Also, we ordered 9 new built bunker barge, and two of these will be IMO Type 2 in order to meet with the new regulation for biofuels. So we are preparing our facilities, our also barges, in order to meet with the new demand, but this needs very big investments.
And where is this investment coming from? From the
From the customers.
from the
From their
customers,
private
exactly. So,
Hopefully.
so how is it going in Spain in terms of investment and the renewal of the barge fleet? Because it is a very expensive business. Like we bought an LNG tanker, and it's really made the headlines in the trade winds because it is eye-wateringly expensive, like in the tune of $100 million. So this is changing completely the logistics of it. So how is it in Spain?
Well, Jan, one thing is, and I am a commercial guy, this is an operation business.
Yes.
As clear as that. So if you don't perform, you are out. Of course, customers, commercially, we have to look for the customers, to look for the business, but you need to perform, okay? Fully agree on the barges. Barge costs today between $10,000 to $15,000 a day. You need to optimize that. It's a big investment, okay?
Yes.
This is the charter party, normal charter parties. If you go to LNG, probably double, okay? So, big challenge. We are managing today conventional fuels, plus now ultra-low sulfur, plus bios, bio MGO, bio high sulfur, bio very low, bio ultra-low, with the same means or increasing the means and organizing everything. A little bit at the beginning, this is a challenge for all the suppliers, for sure.
So how do you meet this challenge in SOCAR, the increasing complexity of the fuels that you have to deliver?
Yeah, it's really complexity, but yeah, like you said, we have some 6 products in the same terminal, and you are trying to manage this, all these products, protecting each other to mixing by means of quality, etc. And also you have higher capacity of barges to do the same job, to do the same volumes this year, especially after May. But now, for instance, in SOCAR, I have some 25,000 deadweight tons of carriage capacity for bunker fuel, and the 6,000 of them is IMO2 type. And also, IMO putting some regulations, but also IMO is helping to the sector that I think it was 12th or 3rd of May, IMO has approved to carry the conventional barges to carry some 30% bio products. This is very helpful to the market because we need that. It's not easy to change the whole structure. So it's wonderful. So it's enough for us for maybe following 5 years. So the B30 now can be carried by the barges. So it's for sure. And the most important point is the complexity also coming from the regulatories. For instance, Fuel EU, Europeans, IMO, giving a different types of references. For instance, the well-to-wake emissions over diesel oil. The IMO is telling it's 92, Europeans say 92.5. Energy content of high sulfur fuel oil, one is saying 40.5 megajoule, the other is saying 41. All those things are creating a complexity. So I kind of asked to EBA leaders this is very, very important for us because my customer is asking me to give bio, for instance. I'm writing that the emission of the bio is this. If I make it B30, now it is 25% decrease according to IMO. It is this according to FIDU. It is this according to MRV. It's too complex. So let's make it simple. Okay. So we need that, and the market is need that. Now IMO put well-to-wake calculations for the 2028, and they are asking $380 per ton for the CO2 equivalent. If it is tier 1, it's $100. And the Fuel EU is asking for 2,400 euros, this is a penalty, per ton. It's lots of things. So we cannot, I don't know how ship owners will manage these things. They cannot. So, you know, in refineries, we are using some softwares. You are putting some Basra fuels, let's say some fuels from Russia, some fuels from Iraq, because those are all different types of crude oils. And so you're writing it in the system, and it's calculating to you. It's better to produce these tons of jets, this quantity of gas oil, this kinds of fuel oils, etc. So it's finding the best optimized formula for a refinery according to the crude oil supplied. Now, the vessels need such kinds of softwares, because we cannot burn a single type of product anymore. We will burn some portfolio of the products.
Yes, so the complexity is greater.
The complexity is crazy. Okay, it's exacting, but how?
I
So
wish
we cannot sit here, but during having a tea, we cannot decide to let's buy a vessel, a cargo vessel, and let's be a ship owner. We cannot say anymore. it's something. It's
I
not
wish that
giving
we
the money
could
only.
discuss this all day, but Mustafa is signaling there that we are up to time. And I would like to thank you very much. And it has been really enjoyable. And you know, I wish that we have another hour, because I can come up with even more challenging questions, 10 more of them. They're in my mind. And I would like to thank you all very much. And I would like to hand over to Mr. Jonathan Mcilroy, who is one of my mentors in life. And I used to call him Credit Idol, and he still is idol. So I would just like to hand over to the next panel.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. I feel future is for Turkey, for us. We have been living in a complex situation for last 100 years. So know how to manage crisis, how to manage such complex situations. Now we are going to trader's view on Mediterranean ECA. Our moderator is Jonathan Pasha. Jonathan is in the industry for over 30 years. He worked for Peninsula, COCKETT, and Aegean, and now is global commercial manager of the HALK group. Thank you. Our first speaker, Ibrahim Çördük, is a Turkish guy born in Denmark. He's working for Dam Bunkering for about 20 years. He is now head of sales for Mediterranean. Ibrahim, please. Burcu got long experience as a bunker trader. She worked for COCKETT for London, Cannes, Rotterdam, Singapore, and Dubai office. Now team leader for COCKETT Turkey. Please, Burcu. Now I invite Mr. Gudrat Guliyev. He is working for ALKAGESTA. He is a cargo broker. ALKAGESTA is the main supplier for bunker suppliers in Turkey, and he is handling all kind of bunker grades, and they keep certain large amount of storage capacity in Marmara region, about 480,000 cubes, and 700,000 cubes in Turkey. Where's Gudrat? Okay, please start, Chairman.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say what an immense pleasure it is to be here. Speaking as someone who attended the first Turkish bunker conference in 2002, it gives me really genuine delight to be back here with you all and enjoying the unique hospitality that the Turkish bunker industry brings to these events. So thank you so much for organizing it again. I can tell you on behalf of the international audience, everyone worldwide is very happy that this is back in our calendar. So thank you for organizing it, okay? Now, obviously with this expert panel, we have more than 40 years trading experience. So we would like to discuss some topics from a slightly different perspective, the perspective of the bunker trader, and look at some of the complexities and some of the difficulties that they are facing as we make this, this shift, okay? So Gudrat, my first question to you is, what do you see as the main challenges meeting the demand of your clients in sourcing ULSFO in this market?
First of all, welcome to everyone, and I would like to say thank you to everyone who put effort for taking this event happen, and I strongly believe that this event will be valuable and informative for everyone. Again, thank you very much. Coming to the question, the biggest challenge to meet a demand of to supply the demand is the refining capacity and sourcing limitations from producer's side. Just to bring it to the numbers, I would like to highlight that when in 2020 we were switching to 0.5, there were 17 different refineries producing 0.5 fuel, and half of them were located especially in Mediterranean Sea. But coming today, there are only 3 refineries consistently producing 0.1 fuel oil, and we have to know that before switching to and do this regulational change, all of these 3 refineries already had the dedicated market for which they were producing this fuel. So we can observe the huge demand and competition on the same amount of the fuel which were produced for the moment of regulational change. So this is the main problem we could highlight on that side.
Okay. So it's a refining capacity issue?
Yes, it's because, again, the other point is uncertainty in demand.
Okay.
Because all the physical suppliers, bunker traders, cannot provide the clarity on the exact demand, what they want, how much they want it. So all refineries in Mediterranean are in a transition period, thinking on how they will produce it, does it work, or they will keep producing what they did before the regulational change. So clarity on demand side is other subject, because without clarity on demand and without visibility on how much of this cargo will be traded around in Istanbul, Malta, or Westmed, the refiners cannot project what to do, and basically the traders around cannot predict and take additional risks of buying or trading something around on this.
Yeah, I remember from the 0.5 shift in 2020, there was certainly a much more concrete feeling with regards to what the demand profile would be. But then obviously the picture on the 0.5 shift was more united. It was a clearer shift with less product variability, so it was easier to predict.
My personal opinion on that is that that regulation was not limited to any specific region, like the Mediterranean. It was the worldwide regulation change, and we had a particular number on the hands, which we will see, okay, this demand from 3.5 will switch to 0.5. But here, you see, the trade flows around are not certain that much, because the analysis and data we have on hands is not giving you the clear picture of what's going on around and what will be exact demand. You can give the brief estimation on total region of Mediterranean, but not exactly to Malta, exactly to Istanbul side, or particular locations and bunkering hubs. That creates the complexity. Because overall you can estimate the total volume, but not dedicated for Istanbul, let's say, on this side.
So Burcu, if I was to ask you that and make it more specific with regards to the Turkish market, supply in the Turkish market as a trader, how do you see that? How was your experience of that being?
Actually, we were very lucky because SOCAR and PETROL was already here. They have a big investment in the bunker business here, and already there is a 3 dedicated for each company. Has already in a mid of April, they were ready, full ready for supply. Where was the price? Was a bit of question because it was almost close to the gasoil price that we have seen. But now we have still seen this changes actually. Even Gibraltar in main hub, Malta, the price is like $30–40 lower than gasoil. Still, I remember this 2020 when everything went up from 3.5 sulfur to 0.5. We have seen the $250 differences, and then everyone was like, but this panic is not that time of the year. It was very smooth, and we as a, I mean, already big ALKAGESTA is also here. We have storage, we have barges. It's just one click. I see all other Mediterranean ports still, there is no barge available, first of all, and the regulation is not there. So for us, I found it 1st of May, we already supply one ship without no problems. The specs was there, and the product was high quality, almost close to gasoil.
Yeah.
So it was very smooth passage through this 0.1, where I saw 0.5 was more like complicated with the quality, compatibility, all these issues.
Yeah.
But it was pretty easy, I would say, for Turkish market, and I'm sure regulators, everything was in first place. So
I think this is an advantage for the Turkish market, that
Exactly.
it is highly regulated, very well structured, and you can see the preparation has gone in.
That is what the earlier conversation was. Whereas in Rotterdam, Gibraltar, you can do delivery without even you get the order, the barge is there. Whereas here is everything is regulated. It's like you have to go through the custom. That's why I have seen all those years, almost 20 years, few quality issues.
Yeah.
Very clean market.
This is it. I think the trading industry globally has always relied on supply in Turkey being efficient, effective,
as
and
being
on
a
spec.
trader, I think you would understand this is number one
It's,
priority
it's
for
somewhere
us.
we relax when we fix an inquiry. Ibrahim, taking it into the wider context of the overall Mediterranean market, you're head of sales in down bunkering for the Mediterranean. How are you seeing things shape up?
I would say that if we look on the wider Mediterranean, there are still uncertainty about, which is clearly understandable from the ship owners and operator side, whether they want to switch to ULS4 at the beginning of this process, which is fairly understandable. They easily switch to low sulfur MGO, which is a known product for them, as Burcu also mentioned. I kind of compare the scenario with the 2015 change in Northwest Europe, where there is a supply and demand issue also in the beginning. As Mr. Gudrat also mentioned, if there are few refineries that are producing this, they will not leave this extra profit on the table, because they will keep this price difference. If you look at it on an economical aspect, the price difference is around $10 just now for wider Mediterranean. And I think that is not big enough that owners and operators will jump directly into ULSFO. But I do believe that within 4 to 6 months of time scope, that this product will settle more on the Mediterranean Sea, as it did on the Northwest Europe side. But if you look at the overall, there are some countries like Italy where nobody is believing on ULS4, and they just continue on betting on that demand will be for low sulfur MGO, which is, I think it's the low sulfur demand doubled, if not tripled. That's also the best part of being at these events, that I could hear from our Turkish suppliers, that it actually tripled and not just doubled. So I think within a 4 to 6 month time, the price of between ULS4 and LS7 could widen, and then that could maybe also then automatically ship owners and operators, shipping companies will be more open to ULS4.
Yeah, I think certainly these shifts, the complexity of them presents us with a difficult picture, because we move from dealing with a very limited panel of products to a more fragmented picture, and a picture which is more regionalized. But as trading companies, we have to provide a universal service internationally to our customers, which meets their needs, with not only with the fuel but with the expertise to back it up. I think that the burden on the trading companies on that side of things has increased a lot. Can I just, in general, just a few words each, how are you reacting to this difficulty, these new complexities? What's the response been so far?
I think what we have seen a bit of less knowledge about our Asian colleagues and Asian ship owners. But for the rest of the European customers and the Turkish customers, they were already well aware of the situation. Okay. It was very smooth, and we as a company organize every 2 years some knowledge series about these changes. Now we see even more changes coming in force. For ship owning capacity, comparing with 2000, it was for Mediterranean ship owners and European, it was very easy access for them to enter. Whereas the Chinese owner was, why do we need to use 0.1 sulfur? And they were a bit of shock, and I saw that time, and we had to sell more gasoil that they can enter the Suez so that they can burn the 0.5 sulfur back again. And I had a lot of questions why we cannot find this product in Singapore, for example, 0.1 if it is necessary. Still Singapore is not supplying those products in big ports like Singapore or China because we see less demand. But what we see by 2027, there will be Atlantic coast as well is going into this 0.1 sulfur, where we will see France, Spain, this coastline to Norwegian on up in the... So it is coming in. I think it's when I started my career 2020, it was, if I'm not wrong, to 4.5 sulfur. Even before 2000, there was no sulfur cap. But then, 2002, it was 4.5. And then 2005, there 3.5% sulfur. And then 2000, and we have sharp 0.5. Now, and then what is going is next is like no sulfur, no carbon, bio or new technologies. It's challenging, but it's exciting as well.
I mean, so talking about to move on from ULSFO onto the biofuels situation, how is that market developing in these early stages? Ibrahim, how are you finding demand? How are you finding the response to the products?
Well, the demand is slowly getting shaped. Since the ECA change from 1st of May, the already existing fleet has decreased the emissions by going from 0.5 to 0.1. But this regulatory of fuel EU maritime is the most critical aspect to, especially for companies that trading within Europe. We see that the demand is slowly shaping up, especially in Spanish ports and Italian ports, and actually also for Turkey. The challenges are a little bit that the lead time for delivering biofuels in the Mediterranean are significantly higher than what we are used to in like Northwest Europe, ports like Rotterdam, etc.
Okay.
But I think on a short term, the demand will be for MGO, ULSFO, high sulfur, and then again biofuels will be slowly, but it will get shaping.
Okay. Gudrat, I mean, in relation to the biofuel side of the story, are there any issues in terms of regulatory framework which are inhibiting the development of that market or making it easier for you to work in that space?
Very good question. No, it's very hard to start something, as always. You know, the first projects and first steps are the hardest ever. So I will talk particularly, okay, we can see some development on WestMed side, Spain ports, on bio side, but the pure silence is on our side here in Istanbul, or I would even highlight the Greece, Malta especially, or let's say some bunkering companies in Black Sea. So again, I will state my personal opinion on here again. It looks like egg chicken case here, because everyone around is saying that there is no demand, but we also have to highlight that there is no firm offer again here around. Because without a firm offer on hand, again, the bunkering companies or physical suppliers cannot motivate or lead the market to growth here around. So first of all, we have to came to the position of to be able firmly offer some bio component or B100 or B24 blends here around. Coming to regulatory points, thanks to all bunkering companies in Istanbul, you know, we hold meetings in even Ankara with local authorities to how we can optimize the regulatory rules to make this business work. And we found out that subject to keeping the business on transit regime, you even tomorrow can start supplying these cargoes around in Istanbul, any grade, subject again to all certifications, requirements to be in place and aligned with the requirements. But if we will have firm demand on hand, even next week we can start supplying it physically, because we have suitable barge certifications on terminals, companies and its entities and etc. But the opposite side here again, without having firm cargo on hands, without anyone willing to take this risk or start some initiations on that side, I believe that it will be very hard to start something here in the region. So maybe some additional push from regulatory side to be some mandatory rules on site. Otherwise, I don't see any chances for next couple of years to move from point zero on that.
I mean, so extending on from that then, in terms of availability regulations and so on, and it's something which has been mentioned that this is it's a Mediterranean shift to the new fuel requirement, but a different approach or unique approach on a country-by-country basis. Ibrahim, do you think that there's going to be like a two-speed market in the Mediterranean or a multi-speed market in the Mediterranean where, for example, Gibraltar as a supply hub moves ahead faster, or Istanbul as a supply hub moves ahead faster? Do you see a fragmented Mediterranean market with regards to supply, uptake, and therefore demand for these fuels?
I would say yes. I do expect, and I'm also glad to hear that that is intensive work with the regulations, because as said, I think the Fuel EU Maritime is the big push here, because it's already started from 1st of January. And without it, generally speaking, from my perspective, there is a lot of owners also that is mixing Fuel EU ETS and Fuel EU Maritime.
Yeah.
It's different. Fuel EU Maritime requires that you need to decrease your greenhouse gas intensity by 2% each year until 2030, where hereafter it will be 6% where you have to decrease that. And the only possible way you can do that is buying alternative fuel, because we cannot call it green apparently, then we will have problems with all this alternative fuel, because all the other fuels like VLS4, ULS4, LSMGO, the intensity is around 91 without knowing precisely. To decrease this to 89.3, the only solution is to buy alternative fuel. So, the rule is there, and it's not gonna. I do not believe that it's gonna be postponed, etc. It is actually running. So, of course, there will be a demand, and whether it's uncertainty again, it's the first year. I think if we reach the 2026, then a lot of ship owners or operators, they're gonna be. The demand will arise for sure.
Yeah, I mean, from my personal perspective at the minute, I'd be honest with you, I'm very happy that 99% of my business is east of Suez. I follow these things academically, not operationally, because I look at it sometimes and I think I feel pity for some of the buyers, because the level of complexity and the multi-staging of new regulations sometimes must be bewildering, I think, particularly for a small owner or a small operator that's maybe not so well resourced in terms of legal, technical, and operational. So moving on to that, I mean, traditionally, and I certainly remember it in the move to point 5, the trading companies played an immense role in educating the market with regards to what the shift was, what it meant, and what the consequences of it would be. Burcu, I mean, how are you finding, you know, transmitting to your owners, your charterers, your trading customers, exactly what is now required of them, what they must meet?
What I see actually as being a trader over 20 years, we are trying to build a castle on the sand. This is always the case, and which means you need to be well informed for everything before even you can tell the owner how the, because we have, again, we have organized many seminars, but always question comes direct to you as a trader. Burcu, do we need to use this? When is the regulation is in place? That's why what I see right now is actually very exciting, because there's many opportunities, initiatives, and the new technologies. And I would like to mention, I am in very good contact with ENI, and they said they will be bringing into market in the beginning of July, HVO. This is a product, hydrotreated vegetable oil, which is 100% renewable, and the economic is there. They even explained to me how it works and the graphics, and it is more like a, it's not like a biodiesel, because bio is still, you have the things, but, and then Rotterdam is another market, as you said, that they are right now talking about biomethanol, liquefied biomethanol, or it's like a, it's not bio anymore, it's biomethanol, hydrotreated vegetable oils. And some customers says, Burcu, what is that, for example, price of B100? I'm like, the first, what do you want as a B100? What do you mean? They don't know what it means, because you need to educate them. What I see is, like, as a trader roles, we need to know before everyone knows. Like, the regulation is there, but there's a lot of uncertainty about the things. But the market is developing, and we are being informed. We are getting all these informations, and the suppliers is being ready. Then it will be only paying the cost for the ship owners. I think it will be the last stage, but it will be, exciting for all of us.
I mean, obviously, the flip side of this, the kind of the scary side of it, is compliance and penalties if you are non-compliant. Gudrat, do you think that owners and charterers, end users of the fuel, do you think that there's a good idea of the requirements in terms of compliance and the penalties for non-compliance?
Here again, we have some, let's say, uncertainty, because the focus on environmental solutions is not new in the market. So from long years, every year we have new regulations, new points, new views to the subject, and more or less all the owners or operators are 60 to 70% are informed about the compliance requirements, and they are doing their best to comply with all these requirements. But again, the level of awareness and preparedness can vary, because there are too many business models here around. Which types of ships are they, where they work, what they carry, and the size and number of the ships also plays the big role for the owners, because comparatively bigger owners has bigger compliance teams, which has been doing very good job on preparing their company to the new regulations, implementation of the, let's say, carbon emission improvement, and so again, you cannot say that all of them are prepared, or you cannot state specific region where the awareness is better or worse in comparison, but generally I believe that most of owners are informed. They are controlled by the local authorities and international organizations. They are forced to comply with the requirements if they are willing to do some sustainable business around. They have to catching up with everything new around, and to, but again, there is a gaps which should be covered by continuous learning, information, and support by international organizations or local authorities.
Okay. The last point, and then I think we can move on to the coffee break, which everyone is keen to get to. It's been mentioned earlier from the supply side, cost, okay? And clearly, one of the biggest roles of the trading companies is to provide liquidity and credit support to ship owners and charterers. As we know, key segments of the shipping markets are not having a great 2025. Dry bulk is not performing terribly well. There are a number of complexities with the liner market and so on. Plus, geopolitically, on a grand side, we have a difficult picture which is hard to read because we don't know if it's 50% tariffs today or 10% tariffs tomorrow. This is all adding to uncertainty in the market. Looking at a higher cost structure for the fuels and weaker ship markets in many segments, are you finding that there's more caution in terms of your credit departments in providing the credit lines to meet this demand? Ibrahim.
I don't see any credit issues whatsoever, but I also wanted to comment also a small thing that I think that in general on the bunker trader, even on the supplier side, we've been very good at showing and helping educating on these biofuel changes coming up. What I preferably like that is that sometimes it's very valuable to show ship owners the GHG calculations, because sometimes when they visualize the difference, because first of all, the first reaction you get is it's biofuels, it's high cost.
Yes.
I will have a higher cost. But when you put it in a frame and say you can actually choose 3 or 2 different scenarios, whether if you want to go for B100 or B30, and the data is there, you can actually drag the MRV data from 23 or 24. So if you have more or less the same emission and you trade within Europe, you will face more or less this penalty. And this is your cost for additional fuel, for bunkers, and this is what you save on E2S. There is a big saving. It's actually a saving tool for them to buy the biofuels.
Everyone's interested in the saving, yes?
Savings,
definitely.
True. But it is not always, it's not the first reaction we see that, especially that it looks like it's a huge cost effect.
But right now, B100, I think 3 times more than gasoil, the minimum, as the cost of it.
Yeah.
But as I know, one of the Rotterdam-based tanker companies, actually it's a friend of mine, we did the calculation together, as you said, at the end of the year, it is almost the same as what they have been paid. So I think it will, when the regulation was in place, this will change the scenario, whole scenario. But for right now, only 60% of it, and also a lot of different understanding of people, or also the ship owners is not willing to use these products, as they need to separate tanks, they need to educate their chief engineer on board. So it is not like a straightforward I see for bio, for sure. And also for, as a traders, is how many different bios and how many LNG, ammonia, we are talking about too many differences. It's a lot of education for all of us.
Yes,
I think, it's a different market right now.
The penalty for being non-compliant is higher than buying the biofuel. And the rule has started. I can only strongly urge ship owners to look into it.
Yeah.
You don't actually need to buy a lot of. Of course, it leads to a lot of second-round questions. Then there is the issue about technical aspect, which fuel is fitted for the engine, etc., etc. But at some point, I think 6 months already passed, more or less. So it's a good standpoint to start looking into these aspects.
I mean, from our perspective, I mean, from the, let's call it the Eastern perspective. Interesting to have a European talking about the Eastern perspective, but I think that once you take the Japanese owners, the Korean owners, Taiwanese owners, who are at the top of the market, once you take them out of the picture, for us, the burden is we're dealing with charterers in the Indian subcontinent, Far East Asia, and many of them have very limited experience of working ships west of Suez. And then to their horror, their ops department find that their numbers for a voyage calculation have fallen apart because they didn't realize what they were going to have to buy the minute they exit Suez and arrive in the Mediterranean. And certainly I think that some of the slip-ups will probably be owners and operators who come through Suez or come in via Gibraltar and all of a sudden discover that they're in a very regulated and enforced market, which they didn't expect. Thank you so much for your opinions and your feedback. I think it's been very useful, very informative. And thank you once again, Mustafa, for inviting us.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yeah, it's a coffee time. As you say. Yes, you deserve that. Coffee break is sponsored by Istanbul Marine Fuels. Please enjoy. It's a long coffee break. Have your networking, 45 minutes. Back on 12.